You were never hit, never screamed at, but something inside you still hurts, and you can't explain why. That's the quiet power of emotional neglect. You were never beaten, never abandoned in the way stories on the news describe. But maybe, when you cried, no one noticed. When you needed comfort, no one came. And when you learned to stay quiet, people called you strong. That's what emotional neglect looks like. It's not what happened to you. It's what didn't happen. Unlike physical abuse, emotional neglect leaves no scars, only patterns, the overthinking, the numbness, the need to please, the fear of being too much. In today's video, we're diving into 10 red flags you might be ignoring. The signs that your emotional needs were dismissed, minimized, or forgotten. And most importantly, how to finally recognize them before they quietly shape every relationship you have. Stay until the end, because once you see these patterns, you can never unsee them. Red flag number 1. You feel empty but functioning. You wake up, you work, you smile when you have to. From the outside, everything looks fine, maybe even impressive. But inside, nothing. Just silence. That's not depression. It's emotional numbness, the classic fingerprint of emotional neglect. When you grow up with feelings that no one ever noticed, your brain learns to switch them off to survive. You don't feel joy because no one mirrored it. You don't feel sadness because it never felt safe to show it. So now, you perform life instead of living it. You meet expectations but feel disconnected from them. You keep moving. Not because you're inspired, but because stopping feels unbearable. Ever looked at your own life and thought, why do I feel nothing, even when I should feel everything? That's not weakness. It's your nervous system saying, I had to shut down to stay safe. Healing begins the moment you realize that functioning isn't the same as feeling alive. Red flag number 2. You hate asking for help. You'd rather burn out than ask for help. Even when you're drowning, you say, I'm fine. You convince yourself that needing someone makes you weak, that independence is strength. But deep down, it's fear. When you grow up in an environment where your emotions were dismissed or met with silence, you learn a dangerous lesson. No one is coming. So you build walls. You take pride in handling everything alone. You become the helper, the caretaker, the fixer, because it feels safer to give than to receive. But here's the truth. Hyper-independence isn't confidence. It's self-protection disguised as pride. Think about the last time someone offered help. Did you instantly say, no, it's okay? That reflex is your childhood echoing back, saying, if I don't rely on anyone, I can't be disappointed again. Healing starts when you let small moments of support feel safe. When I'm fine slowly becomes, I could use a hand. Red flag number 3. You don't know what you feel. You pause when someone asks, how are you feeling? Not because you're hiding something, but because you genuinely don't know. You scan your mind, not your body, searching for an answer that never comes. This isn't apathy. It's emotional disconnection, also known as alexithymia. When you grow up with caretakers who never name emotions, never say, you seem sad, or I know that hurt, your brain never learns the language of feelings. So as an adult, emotions show up as confusion, exhaustion, or even physical pain. You say, I'm stressed, when you might actually be lonely. You say, I'm tired, when you might be grieving. Have you ever wondered why you can explain everything logically, yet still feel lost inside? That's because your logic grew up, but your emotional vocabulary never did. Naming your feelings doesn't make them bigger, it makes them belong. And what you can name, you can finally heal. Red flag number 4. You minimize your pain. You tell yourself, it wasn't that bad. You compare your story to others and decide you don't deserve to hurt. Because someone else had it worse, right? That's what emotional neglect teaches. To invalidate your own pain before anyone else can. Maybe as a kid, when you cried, you heard, stop overreacting, or you're too sensitive. So you learned to shrink your feelings until they disappeared. Now, as an adult, you still do it, brushing off heartbreaks, burnout, or loneliness as no big deal. You become the master of suppression, not strength. But here's the paradox. The more you deny your pain, the longer it stays. What you avoid doesn't fade. It festers in silence. Validation isn't self-pity. It's self-respect. Acknowledging your pain doesn't make you weak. It proves you finally believe your emotions matter. Red flag number 5. You attract emotionally unavailable people. You keep falling for people who can't love you the way you need. They're charming, deep, mysterious, but always distant. You chase connection, they pull away, and somehow it feels familiar. That's not bad luck. It's repetition. When emotional neglect is all you've known, your nervous system confuses comfort with familiar pain. Love starts to feel safest when it's slightly out of reach, because that's how it's always been. You tell yourself, I can fix them. They just need time. But really, you're replaying the same script, trying to earn the affection that should have been freely given. Ever wonder why the emotionally available person feels boring? That's your trauma craving the tension it grew up with. You can't heal in the same dynamic that hurt you. Real love won't make you chase. It will make you exhale. Red flag number 6. You struggle with intimacy. You crave closeness. Until it's right in front of you. Someone gets too near, and suddenly you freeze, pull back or pick a fight. You want love, but the moment it feels real, your body whispers, run. That's not sabotage. It's protection. When emotional neglect taught you that vulnerability leads to pain or disappointment, your nervous system filed connection under danger. So even when you finally meet someone safe, your body doesn't believe it. You might confuse chaos with passion, or distance with respect. You may even feel more comfortable missing someone than actually being seen by them. Sound familiar? You're not afraid of love. You're afraid of what happens after love gets close. Intimacy isn't just about touch. It's about being known, and learning to stay present when someone truly sees you is one of the bravest acts of healing there is. Red flag number 7. You feel guilty for having needs. You apologize for everything, even for existing too loudly. You hesitate to ask for help, attention, or comfort, because deep down you believe you're a burden. That belief doesn't appear overnight. It's taught. When you grew up hearing, "Stop being dramatic," or "Other people have it worse," your brain made a quiet promise. "I won't bother anyone again." So you became the easy child, the helper, the strong one. And now, as an adult, you suppress your needs until resentment quietly replaces connection. You might even feel guilty when someone takes care of you, as if receiving love costs them too much. Ever noticed how saying "I need" feels harder than saying "I'm sorry"? That's emotional neglect echoing in your language. Having needs doesn't make you needy, it makes you human. And letting those needs be seen is how you finally rewrite that old promise, one honest request at a time. Red flag number 8. You feel numb after conflict. The argument ends, but instead of anger or relief, you feel nothing. Your body goes blank, your voice softens, and even if you were hurt, you just shut down. That's not you being calm. That's your nervous system dissociating. The same defense that once kept you safe as a child when expressing emotion wasn't allowed. Back then, you learned that showing pain made things worse. So now, as an adult, your brain still flips that same switch. Go numb, stay invisible, survive. People might call you detached or cold, but what they don't see is the silent panic underneath, the fight that never had permission to exist. Have you ever replayed an argument hours later and finally felt what you couldn't feel in the moment? That's your body catching up to emotions it wasn't safe to process. Numbness isn't peace. It's a pause. And healing begins when you let your body know it's finally safe to feel again. Red flag number 9. You're an overthinker, not a feeler. You analyze everything, every word, every silence, every look. You can explain your emotions in perfect logic, but you can't feel them. You turn pain into data, sadness into theories, love into checklists. That's not because you're over-intelligent. It's because emotional neglect taught you that feelings weren't safe, but thinking was. As a child, you survived by staying in your head, predicting moods, reading people, calculating outcomes, all so you could stay out of trouble. Now that habit never turns off. You use logic to control chaos, even when chaos isn't there anymore. But emotions don't disappear just because you understand them. They wait. Ever noticed how you can talk about your feelings for hours, yet never feel them? That's your mind doing the job your heart was never allowed to do. You don't need to think your way out of pain. You need to feel your way through it. Because healing isn't intellectual. It's emotional literacy. Red flag number 10. You repeat the cycle in parenting. You swore you'd do it differently. You'd give your kids the love you never had. And yet, one day, your child cries, and something inside you freezes. You want to comfort them, but the words don't come. That's how emotional neglect hides across generations. It doesn't pass through DNA. It passes through silence. When you never learned how to name your own emotions, it's nearly impossible to teach someone else how to name theirs. You might say, "You're fine, don't cry." Not out of cruelty, but out of reflex. Because that's exactly what you were told. And without realizing it, you hand the same emotional blueprint to the next generation. But here's the hope. The moment you notice the pattern, you've already broken it. Healing doesn't mean being a perfect parent. It means becoming the first in your family line to say, "Your feelings matter, and so do mine." Emotional neglect isn't loud. It doesn't slam doors or leave bruises. It whispers through patterns. The emptiness, the overthinking, the silence after conflict, the pride in never needing anyone. You might look high-functioning, but inside you're surviving on autopilot, replaying lessons you never agreed to learn. And that's what makes this kind of wound so invisible. It hides beneath success, humor, and independence. But the truth is, emotional neglect isn't your identity. It's a language you were taught. One you can now unlearn. Every time you name a feeling, accept help, or sit with discomfort instead of escaping it, you're teaching your nervous system a new story. I'm allowed to feel. I'm allowed to need. I'm allowed to be human. Because healing isn't dramatic. It's quiet. Just like the pain that began it. If this video hits somewhere deep, don't rush past it. Sit with it for a moment. Because recognizing emotional neglect is the first sign that you're ready to heal it. Drop a comment and tell me, which red flag resonated with you the most? Not to overshare, but to realize you're not alone in it. There are thousands of us silently unlearning the same patterns. And if you found this helpful, hit subscribe. Not for algorithms, but for reminders that your emotions matter. Next week, we'll talk about how emotional neglect turns into overachievement, and how to stop measuring your worth by exhaustion. You've spent years surviving quietly. Now it's time to start healing, loudly and together.